How are you? What's the crack? It's Matt here from the Magic Minds podcast. You're listening and watching the Liberty's number one podcast. We are the best podcast in Dublin 8. You up the Liberties, you up the flats. Happy New Year. How was your Christmas? How's the New Year going for you? Are you now in the place of smashing your goals? Have you made resolutions that you want to achieve for 2021? I know I've posted a good few videos over the last few days on social media around goals and putting pressure on yourself. So if you haven't seen them, check out our social media account. I talk a lot about goals, but I've also seen lots of people that are just putting up that they're just going to take it day by day and get through. If that's what's for you, then go for it. You decide, you choose your goals, you choose how you live your life. Sometimes we can be shoehorned into doing what society tells us to do around 2021. You got to go after your goals, got to smash, blah, blah, blah. Every year, resolutions, pressure, pressure. I need to change, I need to do something. You know what? How about you tell them to fuck off and you make your own decisions? And that's hopefully what I'm going to touch on today. Something popped out of a book and it just took me back. I was like, wow, I'd like to talk about that. And I was sitting there actually earlier thinking, who am I going to interview? Who's going to be our next interview? Draw up a list. And then I said, you know what? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'll just sit down and have the chats about something. And then I was reading a book by my mentor, Jeff Thompson, called The Divine CEO. And there was a caption in it. He was talking about martial arts, and he questioned the ways that have always been taught by all these senseis and all these gurus. And he was like, how can you apply those techniques, skills into the real world? And he went out and found his own proof. And then when people ask him to look for proof, he says, no, you go and find your own proof. And that has led me to sit down here today to talk about that, about stuff that I went out and found my own proof. So that's what we're going to talk today. But before we get into that, I want to remind you, we have a book out. It's called My Head to My Heart. This book illustrates how I've moved from my head to my heart using love, kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, but most of all, gratitude and creativity. I have all my poems in there, I have my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions. But there's a 52-week gratitude journal in there, and I just think it's an excellent mental health toolkit. You can use gratitude. There's areas for reflection. I think reflection and gratitude is a great way to shine a light on the success, the wins you're having in your life. As Steve Jobs says, we can look back and join the dots, and that's where you get your great success. That's where you get your great learnings from your own mistakes, from your own reflections in life. And that this book has in there. You can find it on our website on www.magicminds.ie, and we're on social media. If you want to get one, give me a shout, send me a message. I want to thank Noel Riley from Rooney Media Graphics. He has published and designed this for me. The work that he has put into this podcast and our friendship over the years is just phenomenal. He's an absolute legend, my man, and the work he does in Rooney Media Graphics, in the Liberties, his own clients, it's just phenomenal. His business has grown, so if you need any graphic design done, check out those guys. I want to shout out to my pal Andy from Liberties Media Hub. Andy works me, he's my trusty sidekick. We started working a year ago back in November, so a year and something months. And the podcast, the brand, the Magic Minds podcast, the Magic Minds Foundation has grown exponentially from us two working together. I know, speaking to Andy himself, his personal work has grown and mine has grown too. We've been beneficial to each other, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I want to thank him. I want to thank Shannon's Hopeline, Lisa and Sandra, the great work that you do with the Liberties around mental health, suicide prevention. They're just absolute legends. And thanks to the listeners, the support that we got last year was phenomenal on social media. The message I get are just crazy. It's just beautiful, some powerful, some sad, but just brilliant. It's great that we can be that link to the community. What's our community? It's not geographical, it's worldwide, it's conceptual. If you're in America, you're in England, you're in Carlow, and you think you're part of our community, you are. If you like the work we do, if you're somebody that wants to be inspired, inspire other people, to help people heal through love, kindness, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, then you're in our community. We have a fantastic following, which is brilliant. And myself and Andy, this is the way we live our life. People see the videos that we put up on social media, but they don't see the work that we do behind the scenes, connecting with people, supporting our community. So there's lots, but we don't just give out, we get back. You know, as I've said many a time, the hand that gives gathers. You know, this is not all a one way street. I don't make videos in this book and I get nothing back. I get so much back. I get so much love back. And at divine timing, when I need it, you know, I'll be having a difficult day, a difficult moment, something going on in my life that I'm trying to get my mind around, and I'll get a message in, you know, support. Just let me know what the book has done or what the podcast is doing for them, or the videos that we put out. I do get messages, or I get stopped on the street by people that will say to me, you know, they watch the videos, um, they follow my work, but they don't send likes, they don't send comments, but keep it up. And I used to think, you know, oh, we need to get people talking about, we need. But then I said to myself, you know what? If this is working for them, if this is helping in any way, that's it. It's absolutely fantastic. They don't have to like, they don't have to comment. But if it's having an impact, and no doubt, if it's having an impact on them, it'll have an impact on their family, it'll have an impact on their community. So without even knowing it, we're creating a ripple effect. And they're creating a ripple effect. So no matter what, whether the videos get comments, likes, I don't care. It's great that I do, because it just reminds me that it's having an impact. Because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, just days like, are we reaching anyone? But people are watching, you know, people are sending back. So if you get one or two messages, you can be sure that there's five, six, seven, eight more of them. So I'm getting 10, I'm sure there's 20. So we're creating loads of ripples, which is great, you know. And I truly believe that kindness and love is the answer, is the path. I believe love is the path. So today's podcast, today's chat is me, yours truly. This is an empty pack that fell out of a book. I'm looking into making changes around my health. I started a couple of months ago, really getting diligent around my physical health. You know, I've been working on my mind, my soul, but then my body. I was after gaining more weight than I should have, and I went, you know what, I'm gonna get a full NCT on me health, and I got a few markers back, health markers. I was like, wow, didn't know that. And I'll get into. I'm hoping to do an interview with me metabolic coach Richard Kelly, and also me doctor, Dr. Sam. So that's something I will cover, but that's not what this is about. But anyway, I was looking at a book that I had bought years and years ago. I'm interested in all sorts of diet. I love to read them all, like I do about spiritual work. I like to read them all and take my learning from them, because I've got a good understanding of science. I have a science background, and then I've studied lots of spiritual work, and so I try to take it out and then use it in myself, and then share it as I do with these videos. So I was looking up a book that I bought, a guide around fasting, and this fell out. So this is the empty package of, I don't know the generic name, Ethyl Pro. So basically it's Lexipro. It's Lexipro 15 milligrams. Uh, I was on antidepressants for a couple of years, and the last time I took these was 3 years ago to this month, 2018. I decided that I'm gonna come off them. I'm gonna get rid of them. I had been on them and off them for a few years before that, but I decided that, you know what, this year I'm going to do it. Now, I've been working at it before that, you know, trying to come off them in collaboration with the doctor, and that wasn't really working for me, you know, because a lot of people in my life, well, not a lot of people, some people in my life were saying to me, you know, get better on them, you know, follow the doctor's guidelines, yada yada yada. And for years, I listened to that. I was like, oh, maybe they know something that I don't know. Maybe they're seeing stuff that I don't know. Now, first of all, I'll have to say, right, if you are on antidepressants, or any meds that your doctor prescribes you, I am no way telling you to stop. I'm not advising you to stop. I'll shine a light of awareness on. I've got a science background. I've studied sports science. I've a personal training degree. I've read hundreds of books. I've an understanding of biochemistry. I've an understanding of metabolic health, and I've an understanding of nutrition. Blah 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 blah. So I'm well informed. I'm not qualified and all that, but I have a huge understanding. So I would say to you, first and foremost, be followed. by the guidance of your medical professionals. But it's okay to ask questions, and this is what this is all about. So I decided that I was going to come off these. Again, I tapped into my own knowledge around what my body and what my mind will need around taking these off. You know, I linked in with a pharmacologist. Yes, I got that right there. Uh, and which is my chemist, and we come up with a plan about just tapering down and yada yada yada. So that's what I did in 2018. I slowly come off them, and it was difficult, right? Why did I decide to come off them? You know, these things work. Now I'm only talking about me. I can only give you my experience and my learning. I'm not talking about anyone else, or don't use me as a blueprint. Use it and process it and see can you work it to your own advantage. There may be something in my conversation that might help you around something like this. So I sat and I questioned myself. I'm taking these antidepressants. Why am I taking them? I suffer from anxiety, I suffer from depression, I suffer from fear, I suffer from all these things. But why am I experiencing all these things and I'm still taking these? But yeah, I'm struggling with all the side effects. You know, I gained tons of weight. I was 99 kilo, a 42-inch waist. My sex drive was on the ground. I was binge eating. I was also training 5 days a week. I was training hard, but I didn't look like somebody trained. My mind wasn't acting like somebody that had trained, but also antidepressant. I was still extremely anxious. I was still very fearful, blah, 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 blah. All of those. But yeah, I was taking these. And as you know, as I said, I have a science background. So I understand the side effects, and I was experiencing them all. I was ticking all the boxes. But I had all these people telling me, I keep saying all these people, no, I had people telling me in my life that it's saying all these people makes it sound more dramatic. Like I had a gang, an army after me. No, I had people in my life that were very influential, and I listened to closely. But they were telling me, "No, you're better on these, blah blah blah." But I had this knowing in my head that this wasn't right for me. Like, why am I taking antidepressant? Why am I taking anxiety? You know, serotonin uptake, all these things here. That's in these. Why am I taking these? And I'm still experiencing the same things. You know, I was engaging in counselling, I was engaging in reading, I was engaging in self-directed learning, but I was still going through the same difficulties. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try it without them. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it was difficult. It was a struggle sleeping, but I took certain things for sleeping, you know, 5-HTP, took melatonin, you know, but I read all these things. I read what do you do to support yourself coming off antidepressants. You know, and I realised I'm going to go through difficult moments, and the easy option would be to reach out for them. But I had to keep reminding myself, why? Why did I come off them? Why did I come off them? And the reason was because yeah, I suffer anxiety, I suffer depression, but I'm still experiencing on them. So when I was feeling down, I was feeling difficult, I wanted to get back on. So maybe I'll just get back on them to stop them short-term pains to go away. I remind myself of the long-term goal, which was to improve my anxiety, improve my depression, improve my mental clarity, all these things. And these weren't working. So first and foremost, I had to lose these. I had this inner knowing in me that these weren't right for me. They're not working. So what's the point in taking them if they're not working for me? They won't reduce any of the things that I started to take them for. They did at first when I took them, when I started going on them in 2013 or 2013. You know, they reduced that fear. I was taking something to help it, but I still experienced huge anxiety, huge depression, huge fears. Okay, so they kept me safe at that time. So then I realised that they're not exactly doing what they say they'll do for me. So then I decided, right, let's get rid of them. So as I went along, I tapered off, um, and eventually I was free of them physically, like orally. I'd stopped taking them. I tapered down. I reduced, and I worked with my pharmacist. I went to a doctor, Dr. Neville Wilson. He was brilliant. I told him what I was doing. I told him, like, even when I wanted to reduce my homeostasis levels, I explained what I wanted to do. And he was such a deadly doctor. Brilliant, brilliant man. He listened to me. He listened to what I had planned to do. So I was working with him and the pharmacist and my own knowledge, my own shared experience with them. It wasn't one person was telling me what to do. There was a collaboration. We worked together. Pharmacist, my doctor, and my own learning. You know, as I say, I went through certain neurotransmitters that I wanted to use to support this. And I won't get into it because I don't want to lead people down a track. But if you want to know more, get on to me, and I can help you around that. So look, I came off them. And then once I got past the side effects, you know, the buzzes, the stings in your mind, the difficulty sleeping at night, once I got past them, it got a little easier. But then things don't happen in ones, they happen in twos or threes. I went through a breakup around then. That was difficult. But it was at that point, 2018, that I said to myself, you know, this is going to be a difficult year. One, because of these bad boys. Two, because of the breakup. And a few other things were going on in my life. But I reminded myself, you know, that this year is going to be a year that I look back on and say to myself, in service of all that was going on for you, you did this, and I decided I'm going to do things that I've never did before. So first and foremost, the one thing that I look back now on 2018, I took control of my health, really. I took control of my health. I said no to these, and I decided that I'm going to try, against the wishes and the advice of some people, like Dr. Neville Wilson. He was on for me coming off them. But another doctor that I used to see was, no, you know, don't come off them, stay on them for such a long time. I was like, no, I'm not taking that. I'm going to take my own advice. I'm going to follow my inner knowing that I believe that these won't work. And that was a huge catalyst to me owning my decisions, making my own choices. And that's something that can be taken away from us in life, isn't it? We're told what to do, we're told to do this, we're told to that, and we, you know, sometimes we follow blindly the advice of white coats. And in 2018, I decided that no, I'm gonna trust my own inner knowing, without even the science background that I have. I had this inner knowing that these weren't doing what they're telling me that they're meant to do. So I decided not to take them. And you know what? That then springboarded everything I did from then on in. Decisions I made. Because I came off them. And yeah, I had some side effects, you know, the physical side effects, the mental side effects. But I was still 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, the same. I was still experiencing anxiety, or still experiencing depression. I was still experiencing rages and fear and jealousy, all these other things. I was still going through them. Till I realised that it was my processing. It was how I was viewing the world through these eyes. It wasn't what people were saying to me. For me, it wasn't a biochemical imbalance in my mind that I needed these things. It was the eyes, the ears, the filters that were filtering the information in that were causing me the difficulties. It was my perception on the world, because of my fears, because of my childhood trauma, because of my childhood. The development was impacting how I viewed the world, and I talk about that in the book. You know, it was all these barriers that were stopping me from experience and enjoying life. My fears, my anxiety were all around my processing, all around basing whatever I hear and see based on an old story, an old trauma. That was where my problems were coming from. That's where the roadblocks were. That's where the anxiety, the depression, the fear, the jealousy, all these things were coming up, because I was filtering everything through the eyes of a hurt child, a wounded soul. Yeah, and it was only like was when I've gone to counselling from 2012 right up to I still engage in counselling. I think it's personal training for my mind. I love it. And it was only in 2019 that really the penny dropped, and I talk about that in the book. Because all the work I did was at an intellectual level. All the work I did with my counsellor Maggie, which I talk about in here, was all up here. There was times I'd drop in and out of it, but it was only when I went and done holotropic breath work that I was able to move from my head down into my heart to realise at an unconscious level. Holotropic is about taking us from the conscious to the unconscious to reveal things at an unconscious level that maybe impacting us, cause problems. And that was the childhood trauma. I seen the difficulties I had with my poor ma, seen her crying. I talk about it in a video I did, and that really brought me down into my heart, from my head down into my heart, that I started feeling. I wasn't allowing myself to feel the anxiety, feel the fear, feel the depression, feel the worry, the jealousy, the insecurities, the rage. I was staying up here. And that's what these tablets were doing. They were keeping me up here. Pharmacology, I'm like, these will save me. But what I had done from a childhood was I never allowed myself to experience. I never liked staring into the sun, the worry, the fear, the anxiety, the shame, the guilt, all the things that were flooding around me since a childhood, since my childhood trauma, since I experienced the violence, the sexual abuse. That scared me. But I didn't want to feel like that anymore. So anything I ever did in life was to stop me from being hurt. So that's why from an early age of 12, and I talk about that in the book, from 12, 11, I started drinking, and then I moved on to smoking hash and taking drugs. And from then on, from that early point, I anaesthetised myself. And I didn't learn how to mind my little self, as I talk about. I didn't know how to do that. I found ways to anaesthetise myself. I have found ways to keep me safe. But all the while, I was further compounding and burying down the complexities of my problems. And I didn't know it. Layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, I was applying to the problem. So it was getting deeper and deeper and deeper. But I was still participating in the same things that kept it down there, the drinking, the drugs, and all that kind of things. I wasn't unearthed, and it was only then from the road that I talk about this in the book. It was only from that road of when I started engaging in counselling. I suppose it started when I went back to Inchicore College in 2008. I started because I gave up all the things that I did softly. The drink, the drugs. I cut down so I could study, but I parked the drink and the drugs, so I buried my head in the book. That was another sense of avoidance. It's only then when I went to the counselling, I started working national rehab, that I'm working with these people with trauma, brain injury trauma, that I went, wow, I need to do my own work. And that's when I started engaging in more so in the counselling. But as I said earlier, that was keeping me at an intellectual level. It was keeping me up here in my head. Another way of staying safe, because the feelings, the shame, the worry, the depression, that was all over here. I had moments of it, flashes of insight when I'd be engaged in the counselling with Maggie. I'd get it here, but then as soon as I went outside, it would come back. The problems would be presented. There'd be difficulties in relationship, there'd be difficulties in work, difficult in my family, and they'd evoke the fear, the anxiety, the shame, the guilt, the worry. And again, I'd dive into a book and I'd read and I'd try to learn about it. What was it doing? It was keeping me up here. It was keeping me safe. And it was only a meeting with Maggie, and we were talking about me going on to doing psychotherapy, because it's been said to me for years, you should do it. Because people hear me talking about it, they know I know about it. But Maggie knew me and knows me well. That was all up here. And she gave me a kick in the Lee Roadies one day when she said, you should do psychotherapy. She didn't say you should do. What did she say? You'd be good at this kind of work. You would be good psychotherapist. And I says, yeah, I've thought about doing that, and I think I might give that a go. And sure, look, you know what? I think I'd actually be good at it. I think I'd find the work handy enough, because I've done a degree and I spouted off a few qualifications that I got. I got a first honours this, and yada yada. arrogant as fuck. And she's, I think you might have difficulty with it. And I was like, why? Why do you say that? Very defensive. And she was like, with feelings, you have difficulty sitting in feelings. And I was like, what? No, I don't. I said, I've been here the last so many years. And she was like, yeah, you talk about them all right, um, but you don't feel them that up. You don't stay down there. You know, you talk about anxiety, you talk about fear, but do you feel it? Do you sit with it? And I was like, oh, Jesus, that was an absolute aha moment. The penny dropped, and I didn't. And that's what this was doing for me. That was stopping me. It was keeping me up in my head. It was keeping me from feeling the feelings, feeling the anxiety, feeling the worry, the shame. Because I have huge uh, difficulties around shame and guilt, and still to this day I still have to do my work. It still comes up, you know, when I'm sitting and I'm thinking about an old story, shame, guilt will wash over me, you know, and I'll have to sit with it. Where before I would went straight in my head. I would have read, I would avoid it, I would use anything to avoid those feelings. And it was only then that I realised that that's was the catalyst to it, not feeling my feelings. And so this was keeping me from feeling my feelings, feeling anxiety, feeling, allowing it, thinking that I could control it by one in my head, and two from a pharmacological substance. And again, I'm not saying for you to do that. I'm just saying that for you, this may be an idea or an option or a thought that you could muddle over in your head and go, maybe, because before I wouldn't have questioned, you know, oh, maybe someone else knows more than me and the doctor. And but then when I've often tried to get off them, people would say to me, oh, you just think you're a mad scientist, you think you can fix it, just let the doctors lead you to blah 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 blah. You know, and what that done was took away my power, took away my own inner belief that I could do this myself. I could find the proof, as I said earlier, and that's what I did. And it's given me great confidence going forward. It's given me great belief in myself. But you know what? And along with the podcast, like by starting this whole project, I also taught myself not fearing failure. So this all came together like a perfect storm as I talk about the book. Um, I don't mind making mistakes and failing. I don't mind getting it wrong. Now, there's lots of contributing factors to how that came along, but in this period from 2018 to 2021, I've grew and developed an inner belief that mistakes is a great way to teach a thing. So if I come off them and I got it wrong, if I was to do something else and I got it wrong, I don't mind saying I got it wrong, but at least I get to choose. And I'll say the same thing to you. At least you get to choose. Even a wrong turn is a right turn. You know, anything I do now, I don't spend too much time worrying about whether I'm going to get it wrong, whether I'm going to get it right. I have a knowing, I have a belief in my heart, and I just go for it. You know, if I have a goal or I have an aspiration to do something, I'll check in why I want to do it. You know, and that's really important to me. And I've talked about that in videos I put on social media. I'll check in, why do you want to do it? And it'll have to be for an internal uh, purpose and an eternal why. I'll always ask myself why. Why do you want to do it? You know, the thing about my body composition, losing fat and gaining muscle, that's not for aesthetics. You know, and I realized that over Christmas because I used to think I had body shame, and now I had this realization when I was meditating one day. It wasn't that I was ashamed of my body. These were signs that I wasn't participating in a healthy way, and these were physical signs that you're not doing things that are going to bring you the best bang for buck when it comes to your health markers. I had a huge waist circumference, and I was thinking that can lead on to type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart attack, coronary heart disease, blah 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 blah. So although that it wasn't that I was ashamed of my body, I had physical signs that were telling me that there's something not right. Your body is not in homeostasis. You're not balanced. Yet you might be doing the mind and the soul work, but you're eating your behavior around your nutrition, your attitude toward nutrition, that's not aligned, and these physical manifestations are telling you so. So I used to have difficulty looking at myself because I was like, oh, that shouldn't be here, blah blah. But what it was, and what I found out for me, was that these were telling me that there was things that I need to address, and I wasn't going after the truth. I was avoiding them, and the signs were clear and obvious to me, and that's why I embarked on changing my body composition, linking with a coach, and going back on old reading, i.e., around my fasting, looking at different diets, and finding out what will possibly work around this time. But again, this all came from me taking ownership. Now I link in with my metabolic coach, Rich, and that's a collaboration. We work together. He just doesn't tell me what to do, because that doesn't work like that. The same as going to a doctor. I don't believe they can tell you. There's general practitioners, and I believe it should work in collaboration, because you are the best person to know you, like I'm the best person to know me. It's why I don't give advice to people, because I couldn't tell you what to do, because you know your own body, you know your own mind, you know your own soul, and what works for you. But sometimes society doesn't give us the credit to make our own decisions, and that's something I've learned over the years. That is, it's best to take ownership and question. You know, ask questions, ask difficult questions, ask even of yourself. I asked myself the difficult questions now. I asked the doctor, I asked Rich, I asked whoever I'm working with. I'll ask the difficult questions, and I think bang for buck, the best place to start is asking yourself the difficult questions. Again, why do you want to do it? What's the cause? What's the reason? What's your why? All these kind of things. But I do truly believe, and that's what this is all about. You have to find your own proof, and you are the best person to do that. You are your own best guinea pig, and handing. Now, I'm not saying not to hand all your control over to a doctor, a consultant, or a specialist, but I think you have more knowledge about yourself than anyone else. And this is about collaborating, whether it's around your physical, whether it's around your mental, whether it's around your spiritual. Uh, you have the tools. You have to just trust in yourself. I believe in myself, but also I'll know that if I get it wrong, I'll be honest as well. And that's something to bear in mind as well. You, Something you get right, something you won't get right. But isn't it better that you have control? You can take control of your own life. You can take control of your own decisions going forward. There's great ownership of that. And in a time like at the moment with the COVID situation on, how much control have we lost? And I've talked about this before. People did never thought they were controlled before. Now they realise how controlled we are. But what if you were to take control of your own life, your own decisions, whether that be around your nutrition, whether it be around your body composition, whether it be around a health marker, you could take ownership. You know, if it's around your nutrition, you decide what diet may work for you. It's around your physical health. Like, people will bang on and say you got to do this, and this. I'll always question those kind of things. Like people going out and saying, running's the best, weight training's the best, low carb diet, high carb diet, blah blah blah. I don't believe there's a cookie cutter approach to anything, but you are the best place to start. You are your own proof. So there you go. There's my absolute waffle on finding your own proof. Starting off with antidepressants. That's where I started. I've been, as I say, studying for years, and I understand it. So I'm not asking people to go out and do that. But all I'll ask people is to find your own proof. If you were in a place at the moment where you're wanting to make change and you're being questioned either by your family, your friends, or your work, listen to that inner knowing. And as Jeff talks about in the book, one religion says this, one theorist says this, one dogma says this, one blah 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 blah. And as he talks brilliantly about like being a martial artist, and all these martial artists has their ways, doing it the right way. That's their way. There's your way, there's their way, and there's the way. And the only way that you can find your way is by going out and doing it yourself. Going out and find out what works for you. And I was only having a chat with one of my pals, Dave Collins, there the other day. He loves sea swimming. He loves getting out in nature. He's into all that. And he says that works for him around his mental health, and it keeps him safe and it keeps him happy and connected. And I'm saying absolutely fantastic. I'm not into sea swimming. I am going to do it the next few weeks because it absolutely freezes the town halls on me. I'm not too much into hill walks in nature. I love training. I love reading. I love spiritual work. I love walking. Yada yada yada. But just because I have a scientific background, I can't say my way is better than his way or blah blah blah. It's you finding your way, whatever works for you. If going out and walking, playing frisbee, or going to the gym, it's around what do you want to improve. Do the things that you think will improve your health markers, and then you check and you'll say to yourself, obviously, did that work? Yes or no? He goes sea swimming, he jumps in the sea, it makes him happy. So boom, that works. Going out in nature, walks, he loves going hill walk, that works for him. I love training, I love weight training. Now I'm into cardio, I'm doing walks and runs, I'm really enjoying it. That's working for me. So we have two different people, two different things, they both work. Now you just apply that to yourself. You do the things that work for you. If it's around your health, you'll be looking at your nutrition, your sleep, your hydration, your physical movement. You just find a system and a blueprint to put on you, to work for you. Instead of going and doing whatever Larry's doing or whatever Mary's doing, you find that you take ownership for you. So there you go. As always, mind your little self. But before I go, I'll just remind you, I have a course at the moment called Mind Your Little Self. It's a 6-week program to give you the skills, the knowledge, the confidence, but most of all, the awareness to mind your little self, mind, soul, and body. It's a 6-week program. It's a combination of meditation, videos, weekly challenges. The goals are personal and professional success of minding your little self, change your lifestyle, change your body composition, change habits and paradigms. There's so much success from it. The last program was an absolute storm. People loved it. The awareness, the skills, the accomplishment of the Mind Your Little Self crew was unbelievable. They raved about it. We went on then and done a clarity and success course based on that, because they were like, Matt, we want to stay on. So I designed the course called Clarity and Success, and I'll talk to you again about that. If that's something you'd like to do, give us a shout. We're on social media, or send me an email at matt@magicminds.ie. So that's it. If you want to buy the book, here we go. My Head to My Heart, I can send you a link to that. So look, from the bottom of my heart, have a 2021 brilliant year. Have a 2021 brilliant year. Have a brilliant year for 2021. I'm actually going to leave that in. I literally just popped the camera on and said, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk. I've no script, no nothing. I just had an idea in my head, like I do with the interviews now. I just go at it. Was I shitting? Yeah, absolutely. I was breaking. I was like, what if I stop halfway through? Because I can tend to do that. And as some of my friends will know, sometimes I might take about 10 times, 20 times to make one 1 minute video, because I keep making up balls of what I'm going to say. I said, you know what, I'm just going to trust the universe, trust myself, and I'm my own proof. So that's it. Thanks very much. Thanks for all your support in 2020. I hope 2021 is as prosperous for you, and you can mind your little self. Have a cracking day. Take care. Bye bye.